Well, hello. My name's Robin Davis from momthemagnificent.com, and I'm here today with Chef Amy from the new series Fed and Frugal. Thanks, Amy, for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. So I've had the opportunity to binge watch some of these fun episodes, and you make the most mouth-watering dishes. So I have a lot to add to my grocery and meal planning for the next month here.
Yay, thank you.
But I'd love to hear a little bit about you and your background and what's the inspiration behind this series?
So I'm a personal chef in Lake Tahoe and I cook for people for a living. I was presented with the foundation with Million Stories of an opportunity to do a cooking show based on, how with my job, I cook extravagant meals, but as a family and a mom, like we live on a budget and we try to
Yeah,
live frugally and mindfully of like how much we're spending on food. And, things add up. So I wanted to try to help teach people how to get in the kitchen and learn to cook and maybe start something small, because when you go out to eat and you're buying coffees, it adds up over time. Um, and just maybe start with one meal at home and see if you can save a little bit of money. And then hopefully it inspires people to get in the kitchen and start cooking more.
yeah, I love that. And what a great habit, because that's really what it is, right? If you can really instill that habit in yourself of, okay, let's meal plan, let's grocery shop, we have everything here, let's make our food at home.
Mm-hmm.
I know that is for us. It's always another New Year's goal, especially, come January. We're like, okay, it's time to get back to the grind and start cooking
Yes.
more again.
Yes.
So, where did your love of cooking come from?
I grew up in a large family. We are a blended family of 6 kids. So my parents put us to work. Basically, one had to peel the potatoes, one had to do this. And for over time, I really liked cooking and enjoying, well, I really liked eating. We'll say that.
Yeah,
So the love of eating helped me learn how to feed myself, and yeah, I made a lot of mistakes, but without mistakes, you don't learn. So that's the thing is no one's going to be perfect in the kitchen. You're going to make something and be like, oh my gosh, I completely burnt that. And then next time you'll know, okay, I need to keep an eye on the onions and keep on stirring them so they don't burn so high, maybe turning down the temperature a little bit and not walking away and getting distracted, things like that, where it's like with mistakes comes improvement.
I love that. What great advice. So along those lines, what tips do you have for meal planning on a budget, especially for the families?
Meal planning on a budget, I think don't overwhelm yourself with too many meal planning ideas. So I
Mhm.
think that, and I do this the same. I'm like, I'm gonna make this week, I'm gonna
Yeah,
do this and this and
me
this.
too.
And it's like 5 different meals for 5 days is not really realistic, like
Yeah.
maybe do 3, and then you can have leftovers and you can have some to freeze. And then you can also take maybe the roasted chicken that you made from the night before and make that into a nice, chicken Caesar salad for lunch, like trying to repurpose that. But I feel like sometimes we are over ambitious and then we are like,
Mhm.
this is a lot of food. You know what I mean? So maybe try to like start simple and then see how it goes. If you're like the next week, you're like, oh, we could have done more. Because
Mhm.
then if you do too much, then it comes food waste. And you don't want to waste the food. You want to be able to eat all the stuff that you bought and not lose money.
Yeah, totally. And the repurposing tip, that's super helpful in our whole household. If
Yeah.
I'm doing roast chicken one night, my
Yep.
kids actually love packing chicken Caesar salads to school. So that's one of our main things
Yeah.
on our weekly rotation. So I think repurposing
Yep.
and starting small, you can always add meals like you say, but sometimes for me especially, I get overwhelmed and I'm like, okay, we're just gonna
This is
order
too much work.
takeout or
This is too
eat
much
at home.
work.
So why meal plan? So
Yeah.
starting small and building from there. That's a great tip. What about tips for parents who maybe want to start to include their kids in the kitchen? What are some good skills that kids could start learning? How can we incorporate them in the kitchen?
Well, parents have patience because it's hard.
Yeah.
Um, but start with simple tasks like peeling the carrots So this is sharp. Remember, go away from you, try
Mm-hmm.
those little skills to washing the vegetables, to cracking eggs is always a challenge. Mixing something, I try to do the cracking the eggs with my son. I've started that young, and there was a lot of eggshells. We'll just say
Yep.
that. Got a lot of eggshells in our bowls. But he learned it and he loved it and he was so proud of himself. So I think try to have patience, because I'm kind of one of those control freaks where it's like, oh God, there's a mess everywhere. Oh no. Oh gosh. All right. This is going to be so much more work. Yes, it is more work, but if you think about it, you're teaching them life skills. So try to have a little patience. Don't be like, okay, we're going to do chef's knives, do things that like scrubbing the potatoes or setting
Mm-hmm.
the table. That's one thing I always have my son do is, hey, will you go get the water glasses and fill up water glasses for the table and set the table for me? And so yeah, there's a little water on the floor and it's okay. And everything's not really set nicely. That's fine. But he's learning to contribute and help with the family, because those little things is a little bit less on us, the people that
Right.
are working in the kitchen, and it's nice, you know?
Yeah, and I think those are great tips. And I think as parents, it's easy to underestimate the skill level of our
Mhm.
kids. I know for me, I have three, and so I'm still trying to figure out, okay, what you can do, what you cannot do. My son wrote on his New Year's resolutions. One of his was learn to bake an apple pie, and
Oh,
that
that's
totally
awesome.
shocked me because I'm like, well, we cook all these other things and stuff, but he has a goal for himself. He really wants to learn how to bake this apple pie. So I'm like, yes, I should be teaching you how to do more of these things in the
Great.
kitchen. So the more we can incorporate them, the better, I think,
Yeah.
and
I think just
learning
including
the
them if
skill.
they want, just try.
Yeah,
See,
for
it doesn't have to
sure.
be crazy.
So I'd love to hear your opinion on bulk prepping or bulk preparing meals. Do you do that? Do you think that's helpful as far as when it comes to planning and meal prep? Do you ever cook in bulk batches yourself, or how do you feel about that?
Hands down, that's how I live my life. Because I
Really?
love to cook. I don't like to cook all the time. Like, I'm not like, we're gonna have gourmet meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, there's other things I need to do with my life, you know?
Yeah.
So when I make something, say if I'm making like a chicken tortilla soup, I cook it in a big vat, and I have a whole extra freezer in our garage, which is something that I utilize all the time, because I'm like, oh, I don't even have the energy or the brain to like try to figure out what we're going to have for dinner right now. I haven't gone to the store, or we've been snowed in for 2 days and I don't know where the food is. Like, can't go to the grocery store. So I take things out of the freezer. So is that like, so I make a big soup, I put in a bunch of containers, I label it, masking tape, this is what it is, label, because you're never going to remember what it is.
Yeah.
You're going to look at it and be like, I have no clue what this is. It's brown. I don't know. And like marinara sauce to the tikka
Hmm.
masala that I made, you know, things like that, where you're already spending time in the kitchen making one meal. Why not make a little bit of extra and have some leftovers and things for the freezer for another time? Granted, there's certain things that don't freeze well, but if you're thinking of taco meat or fajitas or lasagna or a pasta dish that does, like, those things can be frozen, and
Yeah.
so you can make enchiladas one night and then put some in 2 containers, so you have 2 other meals that all you have to do is take out and pop in the oven, you know?
Couldn't be better than that. Those are my
It's
favorite
a
kinds of.
lifesaver. It's a lifesaver. I love it.
Do you have a favorite family-friendly freezer meal?
Soups are always my jam.
Soup.
I'm a soup person, even in the summer when everyone's complaining how hot it is, but I'm one of those weird people. But
I
you
like
know,
soup too.
I'm a soup. I enjoy different soups because you can just get a lot of veggies, and that's one good thing with kids, is that everything kind of tastes the same. So you can put in a lot of
Yeah.
vegetables, and they're kind of
Mhm.
like hidden with the kids, you know, or puree
That
it.
that was one of my other questions. If you have any good sneaky ways that you like to incorporate veggies into your meals.
So soup is a good option.
Soup.
Chili, like I do a butternut squash chili, and
Oh,
I chop up
delicious.
like mushrooms and onions and carrots really small, and then my kid will eat kale, but some kids don't like that. So then you can like
Mhm.
pull it out, and then it has big chunks of butternut squash. And then the ground, you can do like a ground meat, or if you don't do meat, you could always do like just beans as a protein source. But it kind
That
of,
sounds amazing. I could
you
go
know,
for that for lunch right now.
yes, right? Put a little cheese and sour cream on it and
Yes.
have a meal.
So my last question for you is, what is your go-to busy weeknight meal?
Go to busy weeknight meal besides the
Mhm.
besides the freezer.
Besides the freezer, something you actually
Besides
have
the
to
freezer.
cook that night. No
Um,
freezer meals
it would
ready.
be like a noodle bowl of some sort where I
Oh,
have some broth in the freezer. Like, so you can have canned broth or something like that,
okay.
like a canned broth, throw some noodles, maybe shred some meat, add some sauce, like stuff that's going to go bad. So maybe that's some carrots that you see that are a
Mhm.
little clumsy, or broccoli, and then add an egg in there if you want, with the noodles, and then you can season it up. Say like, oh, okay, I have some soy sauce. People have soy sauce in the
Yep.
refrigerator usually.
Mhm.
Maybe some sesame oil that you use like 2 times a year, and you've had the jar for way too long past the expiration date. Like, so things like that where you kind of like add it in and make it, jazz it up a little bit, where it's like a brothy comfort food. But then always like a pasta dish is always simple, like
Mhm.
usually people have like dried pasta or a rice. And then if you have some type of things in that leftover chicken that you made from the night before, to the fried rice that you can make. It's just like trying to look at your fridge and be like, how can I puzzle these things together and make a meal? Um, that's kind of how I like the shop the pantry thing came up.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's like something that's just like, look what you can do and what's going to go bad soon, and try to turn it into something. So is that like a stir fry? That's great. You can do a stir fry, chop a bunch of things up, throw it in a pan, add some soy sauce or teriyaki sauce, whatever you have,
Yes.
serve it with the white rice, or noodles.
And those I feel like are always kid approved and they think it's fun. Like my oldest two will call that a leftover challenge. What can they make with the leftovers in
Yep.
the fridge? So that's
Or
great.
you could do, I remember when I was a kid, my mom would do breakfast for dinner.
There
So
you go. Yep.
instead of like, it would be like, we're having breakfast for dinner, scrambled eggs, maybe some potatoes,
Yes.
you know,
Quick
toast.
and easy.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for all of this great advice and tips. I think parents are going to find that really helpful. And I sure hope we get more episodes of Fed and Frugal soon.
Well, thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you today.
You too. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you, Robin.